My brother's text popped up while I was holding my newborn in the hospital bed. Wire $8,000 now. And then the threat came. My dad brushed it off and called me dramatic. They thought I'd cave, like always. They called it family, but they were about to learn that some of us don't break. If you've ever been underestimated by someone close, hit that subscribe button. Like this video, because this isn't just a story of money, it's about standing up when everyone expects you to bend. And stick around, justice isn't just served here, it's perfectly orchestrated. It started on one of the most vulnerable days of my life. I had just given birth to my daughter. My body ached. My emotions were raw. And yet, all I wanted was a moment of peace. The hospital room smelled like antiseptic, a harsh reminder that life doesn't pause for anyone even when you've just brought someone into the world. My newborn slept on my chest, tiny fingers curling around mine, and for a moment, everything felt right. And then, my phone buzzed. I glanced down. My brother's name flashed across the screen. Normally, a text from him meant something trivial, a joke, a question about plans, but not this time. The message was cold, clipped. Wire $8,000 now. My chest tightened. My fingers froze on my phone. My brain tried to reconcile the absurdity. I was in the hospital, hours postpartum, barely able to walk. And here he was, demanding thousands like it was nothing. Then came the threat. Don't make me come over. I stared at the words, disbelief warring with fury. My heart raced. My legs shook. I could feel the adrenaline spike even as exhaustion pressed against me like a heavy blanket. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. But more than that, I wanted to disappear from this pressure cooker of expectations and demands. I put the phone down and tried to focus on my baby, inhaling her tiny scent, rocking her gently. But the words lingered, gnawing at me. And worse, when I called my dad for advice, he laughed. Literally. Dramatic, he said. That single word ignited something in me, a mixture of rage and disbelief. Dramatic. I was lying in a hospital bed, hours after childbirth, and you dismiss a threatening demand from your own son as drama? That's family, apparently. But here's the thing. I knew them. I knew how they worked. They thrived on control. They thrived on intimidation. And most of all,
I took a deep breath.
They thrived on the assumption that I would always give in. The tiny heartbeat against my chest synchronizing with mine. Then I made a decision. I wouldn't cave. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't cry. But I would make sure they learned the cost of underestimating me. For years, I had watched them operate like a toxic ecosystem. My brother, the golden child in my parents' eyes, always managed to get what he wanted. Need money? Threaten? Need forgiveness? Pretend remorse. My dad, the enabler, always stepped in with the tired line. It's family. Family takes care of each other. But family isn't supposed to be a weapon. Family isn't supposed to be a lever for extortion. And right now, they were holding a weapon over me. I started planning quietly, while everyone assumed I was panicking. My first step: gather information. I needed to understand how he accessed funds, how he manipulated my dad, and where the weak points were. He had been careless in his arrogance. There was a pattern: he left digital trails, sloppy enough that someone paying attention could exploit them. I spent hours, days, even studying his habits while pretending to be the helpless victim. I kept smiling in texts. I kept my voice soft when he called. I let him taste the illusion of victory. And then, the perfect opportunity presented itself. It was a Saturday evening. He bragged over the phone to my dad about a sure thing he had lined up to get more cash out of me. My dad chuckled in agreement, and I could hear the smugness in both their voices. They thought I was cornered, trapped, and compliant. But I had already set the stage. I sent a carefully crafted message, playing into the fear he tried to instill. Wire sent. Check your account. The timing was precise. He was at home, celebrating his anticipated victory with a beer in hand. He checked, and then, nothing. I had intercepted the transaction through a clever trick, ensuring that the $8,000 would go somewhere he couldn't reach, somewhere he couldn't trace immediately, somewhere that would make him sweat. I watched as the texts flew back and forth. His tone changed. First confusion, then panic, then outright anger. He demanded confirmation, proof. I played the part of the trembling sister, anxious and exhausted. But inside, I was a storm. You You tricked me, he finally shouted over the phone. Tricked? No, I just followed the rules, I said softly. You asked for it. You threatened me. I just complied. His face flushed with rage, mirrored the realization that he had been outmaneuvered. My dad, too, started calling me frantic messages, insisting I explain. I didn't. I let them stew in their own assumptions, letting the tension mount to a fever pitch. The next part of my plan was surgical. I reached out to the bank, using a legitimate claim about a possible fraud alert. I managed to freeze the funds temporarily, not permanent, but long enough for the panic to set in. I let him call. I let him rage, and I let him realize that nothing was going to bend me. By the time the money was safely routed back to my account, the dynamics had shifted. He was no longer in control. He was frantic, apologetic, and small, clipped messages that felt almost like self-preservation. My dad, meanwhile, had finally started to sense the shift, though he still didn't quite admit it. The beauty of the revenge wasn't just a financial maneuver. It was the psychological triumph. For the first time, he had faced someone in the family who refused to bend. Someone who would act, not react. Someone who wouldn't give in out of fear or obligation. The final act was simple. I sent a text, carefully composed, to both of them. Family isn't about threats. Family is about respect. You thought I'd cave. I didn't. Consider this a lesson. No emojis, no extra flourishes. Just the truth, concise, unavoidable. I watched as the messages arrived on his screen. I imagined the storm of disbelief, frustration, and embarrassment brewing inside him. And for the first time in years, he had no leverage. He couldn't manipulate, threaten, or guilt-trip me. I felt a wave of relief. Not just relief, but pride. Pride that I had reclaimed my autonomy, defended my newborn, and stood up to years of intimidation, all without stooping to anger or irrationality. I hadn't shouted. I hadn't cursed. I hadn't lashed out. I had executed a plan with precision and patience. The next time my brother tried to call, he hesitated. He had learned a lesson I knew he wouldn't forget easily. Underestimating me was a mistake. He had assumed that weakness would make me comply. But my strength, quietly asserted, had turned the tables. And my dad, he finally admitted, in a small, grudging way, that I had handled it better than he could. That maybe, just maybe, I wasn't dramatic at all. It was sweet justice, not explosive, not violent, but the kind that leaves a mark that lingers. A lesson carved in experience, one that reshaped the power dynamic in our family forever. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge isn't loud or aggressive. It's quiet, precise, and undeniable. It's about proving to yourself that you won't be manipulated, that you can stand tall even when everyone expects you to fall. Family, power, and money can be complicated, but respect is non-negotiable. If you've ever been underestimated, threatened, or dismissed, remember this story. Sometimes the best revenge is patience, strategy, and a refusal to bend. Hit that like button if you've ever had to stand your ground. Subscribe for more stories of justice served. And comment below, what's the most satisfying way you've ever turned the tables? Let's hear your stories.